Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and today we're talking about the Tudor Pelagos over here. And I was actually planning on doing the video on the Pelagos right after the Marine Master 300 video that I posted last week because I wanted to, and also because I thought that this would be, a logical next step. Just because I think that the Marine Master 300 is, Seiko's Ultimate Diver, and the Pelagos is the same thing for Tudor. It was actually going to be more of a, loves and hates type of video, but when it came to the hate section, I mean, I couldn't really think of that much, so I just really wanted to, make this more of just like my love letter to the Pelagos, just because of how much I love this. So yeah, let's get into it, and of course, as always, check out the timeline, all the chapters in over there. So when you take a look at the entire video, you can go back to see whatever you want to see, or if you want to skip, do whatever you want. And let's do it. Okay, so let's just get into the dimensions first off, just so we can all have a sort of reference point for what we're dealing with. And the numbers are chunky for sure. It does wear like each of those dimensions would suggest, except the lug-to-lug of 49.9 millimeters. It really does look and wear shorter than that. But the biggest thing about this and why it wears so well for the size is because everything is perfectly spaced and proportioned for the size. And what I mean by that is that nothing looks like it was designed to be bigger just to make the watch bigger. That's a huge pet peeve of mine whenever that happens. And the date window is where it should be, the indices are the right size, the hands are the right size, the bezel proportions are the right size, and everything looks like it was designed to be a 42 millimeter watch from the start. Overall, it wears extremely comfortably for a watch of this size, which of course has all to do with the proportions that I mentioned, and also the use of titanium and the weight savings that comes about. Okay, so the main thing that I love about the Pelagos is the brutal tool watch look that it achieves while not looking austere and dull, which is actually a pretty hard balance to get. Everything on this watch is there for a reason. And actually, so at the beginning when I was actually getting the watch, I was, considering it between this and the LHD. And I love the LHD just because it looks really different. I mean, it had the roulette wheel, date wheel, and it was just an overall undeniably cool watch. But as I wore my one, I just fell in love with how brutally efficient everything on the dial of the Pelagos was. I really think that the stark white indices and the writing work perfectly with the stark black dial and the dark hue of the titanium, to keep everything monochromatic and contrasty, and just to keep everything pure in its purpose. Having those extra little bits of flair like the Fotina could have been potentially distracting to me, I guess. I just think that those, extra flourishes could have, maybe worked a little bit better on a less tool watchy size, if there's such a thing, of like 40 millimeters, which would be oh my god, that would actually be really awesome. Oh my god, that would be so good. Yeah, I really think that, oh my god, if they put that as a 40 millimeter release, I mean, I would lose my mind. Okay, let's get back. So of course, okay, so of course I love the fact that this has the full snowflake hands and indices, and I'm glad that the indices got the full snowflake treatment, just because I think having all those angular shapes on the dial really add to the precision look of the watch. Now onto my next love. It's actually the size. At the beginning, me being me, someone who loves 38 to 40 millimeter watches, I used to think that, okay, the Pelagos is great, but it would be even greater if it was 40 millimeters by 12 to 13 millimeters thick. And yeah, I mean, on paper that would be absolutely amazing, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the current size and thickness of it is almost an integral design element, which adds to the brutal tool watch feel. Now, would I absolutely love for Tudor to release a smaller Pelagos? Absolutely. I mean, I would love it, and also I know that smaller size will get a lot more people into a Pelagos, and that's a great thing, just because I really do think that everyone should have the opportunity to experience the Pelagos, just because it's such a unique watch and it's so amazing. If the Pelagos was made in steel, I almost pretty much guaranteed 100% would not have bought the watch and even really thought twice about the watch. That's just because I feel like the entire point of the Pelagos to a certain extent is the fact that it is titanium. Otherwise it would have just been another big diver on the market. The dark hue that comes with the titanium really adds to the two watch aesthetic just because it's much more low key than steel, and as I mentioned earlier, it just complements the monochromatic look so perfectly. The weight savings is stunted a little bit just because the movement is mostly steel, as one would expect, and the case back is steel, and also the really awesome clasp is steel as well, but it still just weighs 146 grams, which is crazy light for something this substantial, and you can feel the difference for sure. For comparison, my Weiss P104 is 38 millimeters and it weighs in at 158 grams. To go even further, my teeny 38 millimeter SKX 013 on a thin strap code Jubilee comes in at 136 grams, and a regular SKX on strap code Jubilee comes in at 163 grams. I mean, I love titanium so much because of that. If you haven't tried a titanium watch, don't knock it until you try it. Okay, now on to the LUME, and the LUME is exceptional. I mean, I'm fairly certain that this is Chromolite, which is Rolex's proprietary LUME, but there are some people who do say that this is actually BGW9 Super Luminova. Either way, I really don't care, just because either way, it's absolutely incredible. It's not as absolutely stupidly bright as the Marine Master 300, but it is still extremely bright, and the application is even and crisp with absolutely zero splotches showing up when it's fully charged up, which is honestly probably one of the most important things when it comes to LUME for me. Also, one thing that often isn't really talked about very much when it comes to LUME is how bright it is in relation to how white the LUME is. The Pelagos offers top level LUME, and the LUME is super white as well. So that's such a crucial part of the entire watch, is because had it had a a greenish hue to it, it would have taken away that amazing monochromatic look and that amazing contrast that you find on the dial of the watch. Also, they decided to LUME the entire bezel, which is for some reason not done very often from watches on the bigger brands. And this is absolutely amazing, just because in terms of utility, which is a big part of a tool watch, this is hands down the most legible watch that I've ever owned when it comes to nighttime legibility and timing. Okay, so now on to the bezel, and yeah, it's pretty much perfect. The coin edge is subtle, it doesn't really call too much attention to itself, but it's still super grippy. The bezel feel is just incredible. I said in my previous videos that my Black Bay 58 Blue and the 925 had the best 60-click bezels, but the Pelagos is just somehow even better. The smoothness of the movement in between the clicks is so silky, and the clicks into place are exact but not overly aggressive. Moving the bezel requires just the right amount of effort. It's just so good. I also love that it has a deeper click in sound at the 60, just because that means that you can easily reset your bezel without messing it up and having to go all the way back around again and do it all over again. It's a tiny detail, but I absolutely love it, and I love it just because also it just shows how well thought out every single aspect of this watch really is. On to the case and bracelet design, and first off, I love that this is fully brushed, and I've talked about this for my 925, but I always prefer having brushed surfaces over polished. Yeah, I mean, tool watches in my opinion really should be fully brushed all the time, not only because it looks stealthier, but in a practical sense, it's also gonna stop the sun from randomly blinding you. And yeah, this has happened to me quite a few times in the car, so yeah, it's a real thing, at least to me. Yeah, and the case is simple as Tudors, usually are, but the quality of the finishing just helps justify the price, just because the bevels and the surfaces are brushed beautifully alongside the brushing of the bracelet as well. So very cool. And yeah, the bracelet is fully articulating, which makes this bracelet instantly an order of magnitude better than any other Tudor bracelet, period. So yeah, comfort is on another level because of those links, and because the links are so lightweight themselves, they almost require less force to move around, which makes it just a little bit extra silky, I guess, which is just makes it even better. So now onto the diver extension clasp, and yeah, I mean, this clasp is such a thoughtful piece of engineering because, as far as I know, this is a completely novel system created by Tudor for the Pelagos because it was designed to be the ultimate tool watch. And first off, before we get into it, I mean, just look how small. Look how small this is and how thin it is. I mean, this is proof that you can still make an amazing dive extension that doesn't have to be like 48 times bigger than the actual bracelet itself. So kudos to Tudor for the system. So yeah, the way that this system works is extremely simple. All you have to do is take it off and tug on the bracelet, slide it to the position that you want, which you can see from the top, and let it go. That's it. Literally, that's it. I think that this is the best overall dive extension, micro extension clasp ever made, and that includes Rolex's glide lock system. You can see exactly which slot is going to go into, so you have zero doubts about it at all. It has also a fourth position with a spring that stretches, and this is actually used for divers over their wetsuits so that they can put the watch on at the surface, and as they go down and as the water pressure increases, the water pressure squeezes the wrist in, which would normally make a watch loose on the wrist. But because of the springs also contract the watch, and then it stays really secure on the wrist, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, this obviously has a lot of real life uses as well. You know, for those who like wearing their watches a little bit snug, I mean, they can keep it in this fourth position, and then they can keep it on. And as the day goes, as their wrist expands and contracts, the watch will also expand and contract with you. And for me, being weird, obviously, the spring offers a really cool fit over my gloves. I mean, I can make sure that I can put it in and it stays secure on there, and it expands and contracts with the movement of my wrist. So I guess I should talk about some negatives if I can think of any. True love is never perfect, I suppose. So yeah, let's get into I guess some negatives, and they aren't really that big. So I guess this also has the loose end link problem that brought out a lot of comments on my Blue Bay video, but yeah, it's not nearly as bad as the Blue Bay in terms of the loose end links, but still kind of is there. I mean, sometimes it pulls hairs. So yeah, I mean, these are the reasons why the Pelagos is my ultimate keeper. I mean, it pretty much embodies everything I think of when I think of a tool diver. And obviously, I absolutely love divers and I love tool watches. So the ultimate expression of a diver is obviously going to be one of my favorite watches. I just love it just so much, just so much. So yeah, if anyone's thinking about getting it, please just go get it, like right now. So yeah, anyway, I think that takes care of everything. And yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the Pelagos, and you know, what your perfect Pelagos would look like, or maybe why you just don't like the Pelagos and why you think that titanium is awful. Of course, hit the like button since you've clearly watched the entire video and you're here with me right now, and also hit that subscribe button and the notification bell while you're at it. And if you want to get a better sense of what I'm all about, check out my other videos, and then hit the subscribe button, because obviously that does help a huge bunch. So yeah, until the next time, good day.